Hello, crazy quarantine class. Welcome to lesson number 2 in our fictional writing unit. You may remember that our last video lesson was about stories from your life or from your experiences. Today we're going to change that just a little bit, and write about stories that we wish would come true or we wish had been written. Okay? Um, And I would say that most of the stories that writers write these days, especially fictional stories, where they write about things that they wish would have happened. Some writers like to write about magical worlds, like J.K. Rowling in Harry Potter. Some writers write about things that they wish didn't happen, like maybe they didn't lose a job, or maybe they did lose a job and wanted to try something different, or maybe they had some personal heartbreak. Maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend broke up with them, or maybe they lost a family member that they didn't wish happened. And sometimes they can be just total fantasy stories, right? About things that magically happen to people. They have superpowers, or they can start to do things with their mind. So, a lot of fictional writing comes from ideas about stories we wish had been written. Okay? And so while I was thinking about this, these two things just kind of came to mind. Um, and the first one is kind of personal. Actually, they're both personal, but the first one, it kind of has to do with me. I don't know if I've told any of you of this, but when I was in high school, I was really, really short up until like my junior year. So I didn't even really start growing until I was 16 years old. And by the time I hit 16, I shot up like a foot. So I had grown pretty tall. I was barely 5 feet my freshman and sophomore year. I was always picked on. Um, so maybe it is kind of coming from a story about my life, but really it's more of a wish, something that I wish had been written about because when I was growing up and when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, there weren't a lot of stories about small kids who became tall and wound up becoming best friends with the popular kids and all that stuff. And so I kind of thought, hmm, that might be a good idea to wish for. Something to, if I were to write a book for kids who are in, fourth grade to eighth grade, maybe that'd be a good thing for them, especially if they're kind of short like I was. So here's the story idea that I wrote down. Now remember, this is a seed idea. And we talked yesterday about, or in our last lesson, we talked about how seed ideas are just like the plants. We plant a seed in the ground and it needs water and sunlight and all those great things to grow. And so we talked about how these ideas for stories are like seeds. And maybe one of these will grow into something that we really turn into a story, okay? So my first seed idea was a small guy who becomes tall, but not too tall. Not like a giant or anything like that. Just he becomes taller overnight. And he grows from being picked on to someone who other kids now look up to. He refuses to be a bully and instead chooses to show other kids how being kind is better than revenge. So in this seed idea that I had, I thought there's so many stories about how kids like wind up getting powerful and then they take it out on everybody and they become the bully themselves. But I kind of want to flip that around. I wish a book or a story had been written about how someone who refuses to do that, refuses to be a bully, but instead wants to show other kids how being kind is better than getting revenge. So that's my first seed idea. My second seed idea also, I guess, kind of comes from my life. Uh, all of you should know about my love of burritos, specifically chicken burritos. But I'll eat a steak burrito, I'll eat a beef burrito, I'll eat any kind of burrito, if we're being completely honest with each other right now. And so I was thinking about burritos, and I was thinking about how, what if a burrito could become this magical piece of food that, like, enlightens everyone? Okay? And so I was thinking, you know, these days with things going on in the world, life is tough. And unfortunately, there are a lot of homeless people around. And so I thought, what if a homeless person finds this burrito and it kind of changes that person's life. Okay? So here was my seed idea. A homeless man finds a burrito in the garbage. He is hungry and eats it. He becomes a very confident person and decides he would like to grow these burritos that he found to help everyone in the world. Now, you're probably noticing that these two ideas aren't very specific. They could go in a whole lot of directions, okay? But I have enough information there to where if I put this away for a day or two, or maybe even a week, and I came back to it, I would know exactly what my idea was. And how do I know that? Well, because I wrote this 2 days ago, and I'm just now talking about it. So the fact that I wrote these sentences down, I'm already having some ideas about what I could write about, both with the small guy who becomes tall and with the homeless man who finds the burrito. Okay? Now, I know all of you are saying, but you can't plant a burrito and let it grow. But that's the great thing about fiction writing. I could if I wanted to. I could say, all you have to do is plant this burrito and it'll grow a burrito tree or maybe a burrito plant. And then I hand out those burritos and people eat them and maybe they take a piece of that burrito and they plant it as well. Or my small guy who becomes tall, but not too tall. Maybe he makes the basketball team. He refuses to be a bully for sure, but maybe he shows other kids maybe not just about being kind, but maybe he teaches them about community service or saving the world or climate change. You see how I can keep those seed ideas really general so that if I get an idea off of that seed idea, I can keep writing about it. And that's what I want you to do today. I want you to think about some things you wish had been written, or maybe some things you wish would happen in our world, and write those ideas down. If you're feeling like you have a really good idea, definitely write all those ideas down and maybe even write a short story about it. But all you really need to do is what you see here. Just a couple of sentences so that if you were to step away for a couple of days and come back to this, you would be able to understand what your idea was and what it was about. I'm really excited to see what you wish had been written or something you wish would happen in this world. Sometimes the best fiction writing ideas come from this very brainstorm, from doing things like this. So really think hard about some of those things because the possibilities are endless. And I can't wait to see which possibility you select.